like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to all, and thank you for coming out to tonight's meeting of the Peoria Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd like to first, before we begin, I'd like to thank Vice Chairman Jeff Nelson for covering the chair on March 2nd in my absence, and my apologies for not being able to be here. We'll start by taking roll. Commissioner Brian Patterson.
Present.
Commissioner Bill Lewis.
Present.
Commissioner Jay Outlusti. Not here. Commissioner Jeff Nelson.
Present.
Commissioner Mitch Bolnick.
Present.
Commissioner Lee Strickman is not present. And Commissioner Clay Alsop.
Here.
And I'm Commissioner Sean Hutchinson. I'd like to read an opening statement before we get started. This commission is composed of Peoria citizens who have been appointed by the City Council to serve on the commission as a civic responsibility without compensation. Our duty is to study and review planning and zoning issues within the City of Peoria and then forward our recommendations to the City Council. All hearings are conducted in accordance with the rules for procedures and Robert's Rules of Order. Each case will be called in the order in which it appears on the agenda unless otherwise announced during the meeting. In the interest of maintaining a fair and efficient hearing, the Commission adheres to the following steps. Chairperson calls the case. Staff gives a brief report and recommendation. Applicant gives a presentation. Opposition and support gives testimony, generally limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Applicant may give rebuttal, and then commission discussion and decision. Anyone wishing to speak must complete a speaker's request form and hand it to the planning assistant on my left. Please be as brief as possible and do not repeat statements made by others. Anyone wishing to protest the decision of a commission public hearing item must request a second public hearing before the City Council. The request must be submitted in writing to the Planning and Community Development Department within 10 days after the Commission's hearing. All Commission recommendations on public hearing items move forward to a regular City Council meeting. The City Council will then act on the recommendation of the Commission. They may concur with the decision, modify it, or overturn it. We welcome citizens' comments, and as fellow citizens of Peoria, we thank you in advance for your cooperation and participation. So at this point, I'm going to call for a final call to submit speaker request forms. If you haven't filled one out yet, please do so and hand it to the staff seated to my left at the end of the dais. First item up is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is for items that are routine in nature, and tonight it consists of 3 items, with item 3C being pulled for further discussion. That would be CU 160027, the Quick Trip number 484, that is being pulled from the consent agenda. The consent agenda items 1C, disposition of absence, discussion and possible action to approve or excuse the absence of Chairman Sean Hutchinson and Commissioner Bill Lewis from the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing held on March 2nd, 2017. 2C would be discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission held on March 2nd, 2017. And 4C, CU 16-0033, Christian Brothers Automotive, a request for a conditional use permit to allow an automotive service facility on a vacant pad within the existing Walmart Neighborhood Market Commercial Center located at 13645 North 75th Avenue. The site is the Sweetwater Ridge 3 Planned Area Development Zoning District. Do any commissioners have any questions and or comments? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Lewis.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as amended.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. I need a second on that.
Second.
Okay. And seconded by Commissioner Patterson. Please vote. Okay, the consent agenda, as amended, is approved unanimously. So we'll now move on to new business. Under new business, we are going to take up item 3C, that is CU 160027, Quick Trip 484 conditional use permit. It's a request for a conditional use permit to allow gas station use on an undeveloped property located at the southwest corner of 95th Avenue and Olive Avenue. The site is within the La Jolla Landings Planned Area Development and Zoning District. Staff, do you have a report?
Good evening, Chair Hutchinson, members of Commission. My name is Randy Proch. I'll be presenting tonight's item 3C. That's CU 16-0027, Quick Trip number 484, a conditional use permit. The applicant is Brian Greathouse. This location is the southwest corner of 95th Avenue and Olive Avenue. The project size is approximately 5,773 square feet for the convenience store. With 10 fueling stations, the overall site size is 4.11 gross acres. Again, the request this evening is to obtain a conditional use permit for a gas station use. You can see that this area has been undeveloped for a long time. It is zoned commercial as part of La Jolla Landing. La Jolla Groves is the residential component there to the south. The La Jolla Landings portion of the PAD follows the intermediate commercial C2 zoning district. With that, a conditional use permit is required for the gas station use. Later in the presentation, I'll have a larger aerial showing a much broader look at the area. Quick Trip operates 24 hours a day, daily, Sunday through Saturday. The fueling station, canopy, air filling station, and convenience store are located over 200 feet away from the nearest residential property that is to the east across 95th Avenue. This is a requirement for all gas stations as pursuant to the Peoria zoning ordinance. The extension driveway you see there to the left of the proper site is to foster future development as it comes in. This would be commercial in nature. Now, this site has 3 points of access being proposed. The first is on the far west side. Again, as mentioned, it's mostly geared for future uses. This is also their full point of access, allowing left in, left out, right in, right out. The second driveway along Olive Avenue is restricted to right in, right out only through a pork chop. It is our intent in the future for Olive to have a raised curb landscape median. So in the future, this site, through the pork chop today and through the landscape median in the future, would not allow any sort of left out or left in movements because of its proximity to the intersection. The third point of access is along 95th Avenue. This particular driveway is between two residential lots, so there is not a concern for headlights into a driveway or into any residential windows. This sits perfectly between the two houses in their yards. Additionally, to mitigate any concerns regarding headlights, the screen wall along the eastern property line, highlighted in green, has been raised to 4 feet, which is higher than what is required, and it provides an additional, more dense landscape palette of live oak trees. The Peoria zoning ordinance places several restrictions on gas station uses. Those are found in Article 14-9-5.k of the Peoria zoning ordinance. I'll go through them for you. The first is a 180-foot frontage requirement as a minimum. The site provides 415, which is over the minimum. As mentioned previously, the canopy, building, and equipment must be 200 feet away from the residentially zoned property. All portions of this site have met that through placing the majority of the parking on the east side. There has to be a 500-foot buffer from another gas station when located on the same side of the street and not separated by an arterial. In this instance, Circle K is separated through Olive Avenue to the north side of the street. There are a number of perimeter setback requirements. These are all have been met. Underneath the canopy where you fuel your vehicle, it needs to be flush. This lighting has been provided as flush, along with a photometric study that shows that there is no light spillover beyond the property line. And lastly, any fuel tank greater than 1,000 gallons must be underground, and QT has met this by placing all tanks underground. As part of our public outreach, we sent a notice of application and a notice of hearing. This was mailed to residents within 600 feet of the property. Now, please keep in mind that this property, all approximately 15 acres or so, is one parcel. So this notification went to 600 feet around the entire parcel, not just the 4 acres around what it will be the QT property. Additionally, all HOAs were notified within 1 mile. The site was posted in accordance with city requirements along 95th Avenue and along Olive Avenue. And 4 emails and 4 calls in opposition have been received this week. This is not reflected in your staff report, as these have been received today and yesterday. Before that time, no email or phone call had been received in opposition of this case. As mentioned previously, this is a larger look at the surrounding area. I'll highlight through so you can get a sense of your bearings. North is to the left. This is the proposed Quick Trip location at the most northern eastern location of the eventual commercial center. At this time, we have not received any further applications regarding the remainder of the center. As described, this is what makes up the rest of the commercial development. The other half of this PAD is the residential component, the Groves, which is directly south. Aaron Groves is just beyond that border, about a 1/4 mile to a 1/2 mile south of the proposal. And some of the concerns raised by the residents, which I'll go into in the next slide, were in regards to its proximity to Sun Valley Elementary. Sun Valley is located south of Butler Drive and on the east side of 95th Avenue. The last thing I'll point out is the Loop 101. Another one of the concerns the residents brought up is its proximity to the other Quick Trip location. It is not on this aerial, however, it is approximately 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile east at the corner of 91st Avenue and Olive. And I'll explain the reasoning behind this location in the next slide. As mentioned, we had a theme of 5 topics that came up in regards to our review of the site. The first being the pedestrian concerns for the nearby school. As mentioned, Sun Valley Elementary School is located on the opposite side of 95th Avenue, to the south across Butler Drive, the collector street that makes the 1/2 mile. And there are no continuous sidewalks on the west side of 95th Avenue where this QT would be located. The sidewalks are only on the east side of the property, the east side of 95th Avenue, which is where Sun Valley Elementary School is. So it would be the designated safe route to school. It would not be in front of this property. As mentioned, there is an additional Quick Trip location on Olive Avenue. The applicant has determined that this site will work and not cannibalize their existing site. It would make no sense for them to open up another site this close if it ruined the other one. They see these as both financially profitable areas because of the 101. Now, typically, through travels, you get on and get off the 101 and head either direction, either to the west, where this site will be located, or to the east, where the other location will be. And that's the traffic they're looking to gather, is the local residents on either side of the 101. They don't see much cross traffic going across Olive Avenue under the 101. Additionally, there were concerns regarding a convenience store and possibly transient population congregating there. And Quick Trip is designated as a safe place. A safe place is for at-risk or runaways to have a safe haven to be kept at temporarily until someone can come pick them up. This is something they've been a part of for a very long time. Additionally, they have been an active partner with our police department and will continue to be. One of the other items mentioned were home values. Home values are not something that city staff or the commission reviews as part of the basis of approval or denial. And lastly, traffic congestion. Based on the required traffic study provided by the applicant, both Olive entrances will draw the majority of traffic. These are the main points of access and where you can have the full movement. Our traffic engineer is available this evening to answer any questions raised by the neighbors. In our key findings, this use is designated as a permitted conditional use within the zoning district La Jolla Landings, La Jolla Groves, in which the property is located. This use meets the locational provisions and development standards for the zoning district in which the property is located. The use will not be materially detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of the surrounding neighborhood. This zoning permits certain classes of land uses, and this was deemed appropriate as a conditional use permit in this location. Our recommendation for you this evening is to approve case CU 16-0027, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report. With that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, do any commissioners have any questions for the staff? Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple of questions, Mr. Proch. Can you go into a little more detail on what do you mean by a designated safe place? I have not heard that term before, and I apologize if you can't answer it, but perhaps
Chair
you know. What
Hutchinson,
does that mean?
Commissioner Nelson, safe place, you may have seen there are yellow diamonds. There are actually 2 on our library, just adjacent to this building. It's a designated place that at-risk youth or runaways can stay safely until a nonprofit agency can come pick them up. QT provides them with drink, food, and a safe place to stay
Okay.
as a temporary basis.
Thank you. And I had one more question. The condition about the 500 feet of separation between gas stations, it seems peculiar to me. Why would it matter if they're on one side of the street or the other? Why would we say it's okay if they're on the adjacent corner, but if they're on the same side of the street, we have a problem with that?
Commissioner Nelson, this was a directive given to staff several years ago because we were starting to see some mid-block gas stations show up when you had gas stations on the corner, and so there was a desire at the council level to put some separation between them. And so a text amendment was prepared and approved by council to provide for that separation. So we understand that at corners of arterials, corners of intersections, you may see, or even corners of collectors, you may see kind of a congregation of gas stations and more intense uses. But what we didn't want to see is maybe a gas station at the hard corner, and then a grocery store comes in and puts in another gas station, 200 feet away from it. And so we got rid of the if you will, just congestion of the same use right next to each other. And so the 500 feet rule came in because it was kind of looking at the gas stations and what we were seeing in the city, 500 feet seemed to be the number that worked the best.
Do we take into consideration whether this QuickTime can put the other gas station out of business and we have a vacant Circle K with pumps sitting there for months and months, as I've experienced in other parts of Peoria, and they have a hard time selling or reusing or repurposing those kind of properties?
Sure. Commissioner Nelson, members of the commission, really what we're looking at is we have a property that is zoned. If they were asking for new zoning, a new a new list of permitted uses, that would certainly be something that we could probably look at a little bit closer. But because it is essentially zone C2, it's a PAD, but it points to our C2 district, we really have to operate within the confines of the permitted use listing that is given to us. If there's a decision that maybe we need to strike some uses in future PADs or that sort of thing, then we can certainly entertain that. But really, the property is zone C2, which allows this kind of use with a conditional use permit.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioners have any questions for the staff? Commissioner Bowling?
So perhaps this needs to be deferred if someone's going to speak, but hopefully you can answer this. The issue about there not being a sidewalk, I don't understand why that was an issue that someone brought up. Can you explain it?
Chairman Hutchinson, Commissioner Bolnick, with the proximity to Sun Valley Elementary School to the south of the site, there have been concerns raised about the students walking past this site, and maybe some concerns regarding their walking past a convenience store to get to school. The QT will put in their portion of the sidewalk along the west side of 95th Avenue where their site fronts. However, there's a remainder of the site to the south that does not have a sidewalk at this time. With the Peoria School District working with the city, they developed Safe Routes to School, which is the designated walking path for anyone that walks, bikes to school. That would be on the east side of the street, across the street in front of the houses.
Thank you.
Okay, any other commissioners have questions for the staff? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to open the public hearing. Is the applicant present for this? Yes, sir. Would you like to speak? Yes, sir. All right, could you please state your name and address for the record?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Commission. For your record, my name is Brian Greathouse, 702 East Osborne Road. I'm here tonight representing Quick Trip. Quick Trip's running on somewhat of a skeleton crew because they're opening in a new market, and they couldn't be here tonight, and they apologize for that, but they sent me in their stead. First of all, I want to thank Randy for his thorough and good presentation. Thanks, Randy. We agree with all of staff's findings that you saw during the presentation, and we accept all of staff's conditions of approvals that are recorded in your packets. Lastly, we'd like to request your approval. QT on this case went above and beyond what's required by the code and what's required or what's typically done in a conditional use permit case. And it began way back in last July. They started by going door to door along 95th Avenue. That's the street to the east of the site. They went down about 600 feet from the site knocking on doors. Those properties are a little bit larger, so there's not a whole lot of number of doors they knock on, but they knocked on 6 doors. 4 people weren't there. They left letters with those people, and they talked with 2 other folks, one of which was very ecstatic because he's a huge QT fan, and he wants to see QT go there. The other guy was happy because they were going to start selling diesel fuel right there, and he could stop by and load his truck up. So we had some initial support and momentum on this case. And then we talked internally amongst our team to see if a neighborhood meeting would be a good idea. And it's not required by the code by no means, but we thought we wanted to get out there and talk to the neighborhood. And you have to come up with a distance to send that notice out at. In this case, it was 600 feet because that's what's required for the code for this hearing today. So we thought that was a good distance to send out letters. We set up that meeting. I think that meeting was scheduled for August 25th, about 2 miles southwest of the site. And then we got a call from Councilmember Leone's office asking us to reschedule that meeting because he felt it was too far away from the site. And we said, that's fine. We're doing this for the neighborhood. So we moved the meeting to the, I'll probably hack up the pronunciation, but Marantha Church, which is just north. And we held that meeting, I think it was on September 1st. And prior to that meeting, I got one call from someone who lived along the row of houses to the south. And one lady showed up who was from the residential community to the south. And then a guy named Kevin Johnson who lives about 400 feet east of the site. So I talked to one person, met with 2 people at the neighborhood meeting. They were concerned with light and noise and some of those things. There was also some confusion about where the QT was going on the site. QT is only on the, like you saw in the picture, only 2 or 3 acres, not the whole 16-acre site. So we were on our way, doing good through the process, getting the word out there about the QT site. And by the way, we sent out 83 letters for that first neighborhood meeting. To address some of the couple of the emails that were sent in and some of the phone calls that we heard Randy received, I've heard from many police officers that QT is a very safe and clean site. They're all happy about the one down in Rio Salado. And there were a lot of concerns about that one, and I handled that case too. And I think everybody likes that case, that development now. It's well used. People are starting to understand in Peoria what QT is all about. QT offers many services that Circle K doesn't. They have a full-service kitchen, and they employ about 18 to 20 people per store. So there's jobs, there's going to be sales tax revenue from the store, all good things for the city of Peoria. As you heard, primary access is only to Olive Avenue. We have a traffic study by a professional traffic engineer that shows that most of the trips are going to be generated to and from Olive. And there's not a whole lot of reason to go south on 95th Avenue because it's a dead end. It dead ends at, I think there's a river down there right out in front of the school. The site's located more than a football field north of the nearest residential home. And we're improving our street frontage along the west side of 95th Avenue, so we're going to dress up the landscaping, build our side of the sidewalk, and eventually that sidewalk will go all the way up. There's already a sidewalk on the east side. It's just developing the community to be a safer place. I don't think development's a bad thing if you do it correctly. And lastly, to touch upon what Adam said, the legislative decision was approved to make this a PAD and approve it for C2 commercial uses. And when the council did that, they somewhat approve a certain use subject to certain conditions. And if you meet those conditions, you're supposed to get your conditional use permit. And those were some of the tests that Randy went through. And we meet all the tests, and we appreciate your approval tonight. Thank you.
Do any commissioners have any comments for the applicant? I see we have Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Great, I just had trying to get a picture of what this one's going to look like. Are you familiar with the new one that was built at 67th Avenue in Happy Valley?
Yes, sir.
Is this going to be similar in format to that one?
Yeah. If you're familiar with the one on 75th Avenue in Deer Valley, on the
Yes.
northwest corner,
Mm-hmm.
that was known as their Generation 2 store. Right. It was the first, that was the Generation 1 in Arizona, but it was called their Generation 2 because they had a Generation 1 elsewhere in the United States. Their new stores are called Generation 3. That's the one that you've seen up near Terramar up there, and the Rio Salado one down on Rio Salado and Thunderbird. That's their new stores they're rolling out. They're about 1,000 square feet bigger. They have a full kitchen, whereas the Gen 2 store doesn't, and they have hot and made to serve food.
And this one is going to be similar to that design then?
Yes, exactly.
It's a Gen 3?
Yeah.
Because the comment I wanted to make on that, that's a good thing if that's the case, because there was a similar controversy when we were looking at the one that's now built at 67th and Happy Valley. And they did a really good job with mitigating the light issues. The way that cover is designed and the walls and the landscaping have done a great amount for that neighborhood up there to mitigate light and noise. So that was a real good thing. That was a real big issue up there at the time, was the light, coming from a QT and all that. The signs are lower. They're below the level of the wall out front. The landscaping that they did with the easement around it, and it really worked out really well. And I think it took care of all the problems that people were concerned with at the time. So if this is going to be one of those, that's a good thing. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant from the commissioners? Okay, Mr. Grayhouse, thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a few requests to speak on the issue. The first one up, we're going to ask Francisco Morales. Please approach the podium. And please, for the record, state your name and your address.
Thank you. Francesco Morales, 9581 West Alice Avenue. I'm a resident of the La Jolla Groves neighborhood. Thank you for allowing me the time to address the commission on this issue. I appreciate the work you guys do in making Peoria the place that it is. My opposition to the proposed plan of the quick trip on the southwest corner of 95th Avenue and Olive is threefold, and I might add that it is not because I don't appreciate a free market economy and competition between businesses. Firstly, a refueling station next to a large residential area like ours could only mean a certain amount of blight and lower property values for our neighborhood. You don't have to look far for this. You just need to look on the north side of Olive Avenue, where there currently is a Circle K. You can do a Zillow search when you get home. Property values on the north side are slightly lower than on our side of the street. Secondly, it's not necessary for us to have another gas station in our area. Again, you don't have to take my word for it, but within 2 miles of our neighborhood, there are 5 gas stations. And I just had to ask Siri that this afternoon. That's all I did. I don't think we need to have another place to refuel our vehicles. The third reason I oppose the project is because of opportunity. There are so many different projects that would be acceptable for our neighborhood, the way it's zoned, that would benefit our residences immensely. I mean, just off the top of my head, I'm sure a lot of us would love, a coffee shop, Dutch Brothers or something like that. Something that would benefit us. I know planning and zoning would have to do some magic to do other projects, but I mean, we also maybe could benefit from a city recreation area like the one at Rio Vista. A lot of us aren't as close to the Rio Vista Recreation Center as we'd like to be, and having one in this area of 95th Avenue and Olive would benefit a lot of different neighborhoods. In conclusion, the QT in our neighborhood would not be in the best interest of our residences, and I'm certain that many of us would rather be next to vacant land than another gas station. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Next up, we have Yvette Reed.
Good evening.
Please state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or under.
Yes, good evening. My name is Yvette Reed, 9725 West Karen Drive, Rio Estates. I disagree with I'm opposed to this gas station being built. I highly disagree with the key findings as stated that the use will not be detrimental to the air quality. I have asthma, and the air quality in Arizona, I'm originally from New York, by the way, and the air quality in Arizona, I was really surprised. I'm a new resident, somewhat to Peoria area, and my asthma has been greatly affected by the air quality, and to have this increase of truck and car traffic would greatly affect my health, and I'm pretty sure other residents in the area. The constant truck and car noise, when I'm in my living room, I have to turn up my TV. It doesn't matter what time of the day, even late at night, because of the constant truck and car traffic. And lastly, when I'm trying to enter into my residence, having an additional gas station would greatly increase the time of me entering to get to my home, exiting and entering my home. It's just my quality of life would be greatly affected among other residents if another gas station would be built. That's basically it, and that's it.
All right, thank you for your comments.
Okay.
And for the record, I agree with you about the air quality in Arizona. I'm from New York also. Long time ago. Next up, we have, and forgive me if I don't pronounce this correct, Jason Rayton? Rate. Okay. Please state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or under. Thanks.
My name is Jason Wraith. I live at 8664 North 95th Avenue. That is on the roadway directly affected by the QT. What everybody has missed today is the fact that 95th Avenue is a residential roadway. The people that live on both sides of that road back out of their driveways onto 95th Avenue. We've heard it said many times that the road doesn't go anywhere, that it's a dead end. That is not true. 95th Avenue goes down to Butler. Butler going west leads out to 99th Avenue. And that will soon become the method of choice of the people at this QT once they figure out all of the problems and issues they have using their left-hand turn back out to Olive with the congestion that's on the roadway. Just this year, between 93rd Avenue, which is the private entrance to 9299 Olive, and 9800 Olive, which is where the Peoria fire station is, there have been 11 traffic accidents in that area. There have been fatal accidents on that area as well, and now we're going to be increasing more left-hand turns, which are one of the primary methods of serious traffic accidents in this intersection and this area. Everybody has ignored the fact that 95th Avenue is a neighborhood roadway. The house immediately south of the block wall that forms the land parcel has kids that are playing there on a regular basis. QT mentioned that they were doing extra to cover headlight concerns that people may have. That is not the only concern we have. Initially, the sign that you see first coming south of Olive is no exit from the roadway. Well, there are, and that X sign was placed there to prevent people from cutting through the roadway. Now they will end up giving people a driveway where people will be able to turn into the roadway. We are not against something going on that land. We know that something will end up there. We want to work with the city to find the correct business for this area, for a residential neighborhood, something that is not going to increase traffic for 24 hours a day, every day of the week in front of our homes. The fact that they can say that the use will not be materially detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of the surrounding neighborhood, I find that statement to be completely wrong, because it will affect my ability in the neighborhood. My children walk the dog on 95th Avenue. I bike ride. There are joggers and walkers who use the bike lane there already. Butler going out towards 99th Avenue is a halfway completed road between 97th and 99th. This QT will increase traffic in our neighborhoods on residential streets, and that is what we find unacceptable about their proposal to build the store here.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you. So does the applicant have any rebuttal or additional comments to address the neighborhood's concerns?
Yes, Chairman, members of the commission. Real quick, I heard everything loud and clear. Thank you. And I talked with a lot of the neighbors out on top, and they're all very kind, and QT will work with them if this goes forward. I heard that the Circle K might be lowering property values to the north. I think that's just an opinion. I don't think there's any substantiation to that. There are some gas stations around. QT doesn't have one. You already heard the freeway is like a boundary for human behavior. People don't want to go past the freeway to buy something. It's a convenience store. They want it to be convenient. They want to stay on their side of the street, jump on the freeway, and go to work. There's another QT about almost 3 miles to the west of here that's outside of the trade area for this QT. QT does this all over the nation, and they're very good at what they do, and they're very good at defining what their trade area is. We heard that there's opportunity for other commercial land here. Zach Pebler owns the property. He's sitting back here in the blue shirt. He's owned this property for about 10 years, and he's been trying to lease and sell to everybody he possibly can. Nobody's wanted to go on this site. So he's happy to have an opportunity to sell and develop a QT. The other concerns I heard aren't directly related to a QT. They're related to commercial development. If we're talking about light, air quality, traffic, this site's been zoned C2. There's going to be increased traffic here. It'll be planned well because you have a good planning staff and you have a good traffic engineer that are going to make things happen on the site that are going to make it compatible with the surrounding area. It doesn't matter if it's a QT or a fast food restaurant in this corner or a Walgreens or a shopping center. Whatever it is, that's what your professional staff does. And so we've mitigated all those effects. With that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If not, I'll go sit down.
Okay, before I get to the comments from the other commissioners, I do need to note that we did receive, in addition to the 3 speakers, we also have 9 speaker request forms. They did not wish to speak, but they are all in opposition to the project. We have it from Brent Brown, Bernadette Brown, Debbie, I'm sorry about the names, Wiedmark, Pete Wiedmark, Jerry Nodowski, Len, you got it, sorry for the butchering, Len Witt, Amanda Raitt, Robert Salido, and Nancy Salcido.
He did want to speak.
Oh, he did want to speak. Oh, okay. It said you didn't want to speak here on that. Yes, Commissioner Bowling.
Thank you. So, one of the concerns I heard, I quickly Zillowed it or looked at my Google map. So I see the concern about Butler Drive coming in. So I'm just curious, what can be done, or what are the thoughts of you from a QT perspective or from staff's perspective that can be done to mitigate the potential for that to happen? Like the gentleman said, there's already a sign there off of Olive that says, you know, dead end. So we're trying to mitigate it from that. Is there a similar type thing off of Butler, or can we do something like that off of Butler?
Commissioner Bolduc, if we can just have our traffic engineer representative respond to that.
Good evening, Chair Hutchinson and commissioners. Chris Lunka, I'm the Assistant City Traffic Engineer. In regards to Butler, I guess I should point out the nature of a gas station and the type of trips that are attracted to a gas station. Primarily are what we call pass-by trips. Typically what you'll see for a gas station, like a Quick Trip or a Circle K, is it attracts a lot of trips that are already out on the system, the roadway network. Studies have shown it's about 60 to 70% of the trips that are attracted to a Quick Trip are already on the network. So that would be the trips already on Olive, are already on 95th Avenue. To give you more detail of the study, I looked at the numbers while I was listening to some of the residents' concerns. How much traffic is really going to the south of that driveway off 95th Avenue? And traffic studies, the way that they work is we look at peak hours, the AM peak hour and the PM peak hour, because that really reflects the worst case scenario. If you can make it work for the peak hours, it should work for the rest of the times of the day. The trips that the studies show, and this is a study that was prepared, it was a requirement from the traffic engineering department to prepare a traffic study. It's sealed by a professional engineer in Arizona. They say approximately 20 to 25 trips will be attracted to Quick Trip, both in the AM peak and the PM peak from the south of that driveway off 95th Avenue. And so take that a little bit further. Of that 20 to 30 trips, 60 to 70% of it is passed by, meaning that they're already on the system. They're already on the roadway network. And so we're talking a handful of trips potentially could cut through that we're anticipating, maybe use Butler or to go around the system. You also keep in mind there's speed tables on 95th Avenue as a speed mitigation deterrent. to help slow down traffic, but also it helps mitigate those who may want to bypass Olive and use Butler or 95th Avenue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I call the applicant back up? I know we had a question from a commissioner that we didn't get to. Commissioner Allstop?
Yeah, I had a question. I'm not sure if the applicant or staff will address it. When the PAD was approved, was the residential component and the commercial component approved simultaneously? So, in other words, what I'm asking was that zoning in place before the residential community was developed and all those homeowners moved into that community?
Chairman Hutchison, Commissioner Allsop, yes. Both went simultaneously together in 2002.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions for the applicant from the commissioners? Okay, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Chairman, if I can,
Oh,
real quick, we had a gentleman that still wanted to speak.
You're absolutely right. My mistake. Jerry Nodomsky? Sorry, you could approach the podium and please state your name and address for the record. And my apologies, the checkbox for wish to speak was not checked.
And I apologize, I probably didn't fill it out. This is the first time I've ever been to one of these.
Right.
My name is Jerry Nodomsky. My address is 8591 North 95th Drive. That is in the Aaron Groves community. I am a board member on the HOA there. There was some lack of communication to us, or there would have been other voices spoken before now. I keep hearing this thing that it's been zoned the way it is to where they don't have to have a neighborhood meeting, they don't have to do these things, which I don't understand all those rules, but plain and simple, obviously you have people in the neighborhood who are concerned. Those things should be happening. There's things that were presented are not accurate. There is continuous sidewalk on either sides of that road all the way to Olive. So I don't understand where that non-continuous sidewalk is. The fact that the traffic is hindered from turning left from the one drive entrance off of Dunlap or Olive, and the other down further, the expanded, allows you to turn left. But again, the people are going to find they cannot get out of there easy with all the traffic. So the first place they're going to go is right out that other drive to go to the light so that they can turn left. Regardless of whatever projections you did, I can assure you there's going to be a lot more than 25 trips that'll happen in that neighborhood based on this quick trip being brought in there. Again, I appreciate Commissioner Nelson's question about the property or the value of the Circle K if it closes down because it can't continue on. And the answer was, well, I do apologize. It seems silly to me that the answer what it was, stating that there was no validity or importance of your question based on the fact of how it's zoned or so forth. So, plain and simple, everything that has been presented to you today, the traffic is going to be increased, the element is going to be an issue. You have people who live in that immediate neighborhood who have children and families that are voicing their concerns. Although I know there are rules and guidelines that have been set from whenever, and like they said about when it was first permitted or zoned for commercial, it was when the community was first built also in 2002. But I can speak for everybody, I'm sure here. Everybody here would like something other than a gas station because, as the first gentleman said, we have 5 gas stations within a half mile. So it's ridiculous. Yeah. But I do apologize if I seem direct, and I do apologize if I seem, abrupt in my response, but I want to make sure I was also heard today. But I think there is some misleading information given by Quick Trip, in a sense, and I understand it's a business. They got to project themselves the best way they can. And the fact that it's a safe zone has nothing to do with my community. That is not going to improve my community in any way, shape, or form. It's great that they do that, that it's a safe zone, that if somebody's homeless or needs help, they can go there for assistance. That's great. They should be able to do that anywhere. They should be able to do that at my front door. I don't need Quick Trip to be able to provide that. So I appreciate you taking the time to hear my voice.
All right, thank you. I'm going to call the applicant up one more time if he wishes to rebut.
Here to answer any questions if you have them. I certainly wasn't trying to mislead anybody in this room at any point. I'm always telling 100% facts and being 100% honest with everybody. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, we have a question from Commissioner Nelson.
Well, maybe staff can answer this.
Okay.
It was directed at the applicant, but that gentleman said that there are 5 gas stations within a half mile. Did I hear that correct? Within 2 miles. Okay, I just wanted to verify. Staff, do we know if that's true, or 5 gas stations within 2 miles of this location? Anybody on the...
Commissioner Nelson, I don't have
Everybody
that
don't know
information.
that?
Yeah, I would know that.
You perhaps know there?
I've heard the same comment come up in many different hearing rooms, not only in Peoria but around the valley. And most gas stations will tell you that 2 miles is simply too far to drive to get a candy bar and fill up your truck. I don't know what the exact trade area is for gas stations, but for Quick Trip, this site works, and if it didn't work, they wouldn't be there. Competition is not really a reason to say a gas station shouldn't be somewhere, no more than it should be for any business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I didn't know that box. GP Mark, is there a chance I can say something? If not, that's fine.
I'm sorry, we're going to close the public hearing at this time. Okay, are there any other comments from the commissioners for the staff or on this case? Sorry, you're trying to request. Okay, Commissioner Nelson.
Mr. Approach, it sounds like the engineering department had a chance to look at this and do a pretty thorough evaluation. I assume the police department looked at it as well. I heard a concern about being a large number of traffic accidents right now, that the concern that this could increase traffic and traffic accidents particularly. Did the police department have a chance to review this? Did they have any concerns, or the fire department?
Chairman Hutchinson, Commissioner Nelson, the police department is always routed on all case reviews. I did not receive any comments, pro or con, from the police department.
Okay, are there any other questions from the commissioners? That's Jeff, you're still there. Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion on CU 16-0027.
Chairman?
Commissioner Lewis.
Before I make my motion, I just wanted to make a comment or two if I could. I appreciate everybody coming out here tonight. These things we're all residents of Peoria, and a lot of these things affect our neighborhoods too, and we really appreciate getting input from people. We're kind of charged, though, with looking at the bigger picture of things, the benefit of the city and the community at the same time, not overlooking that. And we do understand everybody's feelings. And I've been on the commission for a long time, and I've heard a lot of the hearings, a lot of the information from the hearings about people in their neighborhoods. Bottom line for this one, though, is we have a vacant lot that's been rezoned commercial, and it's been sitting there vacant for years and years. And the owner has been trying to get people to come in there and develop that land. And he has a right to be able to do that. And he has found somebody who's been able to come in there and do something good for that property finally. That's good for the city in general. That's good for, I know not you people, the people who are here tonight, you probably don't feel like that is going to be best for your neighborhood, but I think we have to look at the balance for what's the best in the city. And to be able to finally be able to put upscale Generation 3 QT on that site, I think is probably in the best interests of the city. And with that, I would make a motion that we approve case CU 16-0027.
Okay, we have a motion to approve CU 16-0027. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Bolnick. Please vote. Okay, the motion passes with one dissenting vote. Okay, next up on the agenda.
So that means that the gas station, you're going to go forward with the gas station?
Okay, next up on the agenda, we have Z16-0015, Pinnacle Peak Road City Retention Basin Initial Zoning. A city-initiated initial zoning request from Maricopa County Rural 43, RU43, to the City of Peoria Suburban Ranch 43, SR 43, for approximately 7.22 acres, following a recent annexation application on the site. The property is located at the northwest corner of 83rd Avenue and Pinnacle Peak Road. Staff, could you please present your report?
Good evening, Chair Hutchinson, members of the Commission. As you mentioned, the next item for consideration is item Z16-0015, an initial zoning of a city retention basin. This is a city-initiated case, meaning that city staff are bringing forward the application for the property that is located at the northwest corner of 83rd Avenue and Pinnacle Peak Road. The project size is approximately 7.22 acres, and this is an existing retention basin. The request is for initial zoning. Initial zoning is the first time that the site has received zoning within the city of Peoria. And the request is to change from the Maricopa County zoning district of Rural 43, or RU 43, to the city of Peoria's zoning district, which is Peoria Suburban Ranch 43. As mentioned, the existing use of the property is as a city retention basin. Several years ago, the city developed the retention basin to ease the drainage issues in the area, and that is the intended use to continue. For some context, as you can see on the map, located to the north, east, and west of the site is existing residential development. To the south is the Great Hearts Academy across Pinnacle Peak Road. For reference, the existing general plan land use designation of the entire area at the four corners of this intersection is estate density residential, which would be large lot, single-family residential, and the current zoning of the property in the vicinity that is unincorporated would be consistent with what the site is at present, which is the Rural 43 Maricopa County's zoning district. To the south across Pinnacle Peak Road, as noted, because the Great Hearts Academy is a school, they were able to develop within the agricultural district, or general agricultural. For background on exactly how we got to be here tonight, the property was annexed into the city back in June of 2014. The city is acting as applicant. The city is also the property owner for this site. Per state statute, the city is required to provide equivalent zoning and basically give the site zoning within the city that is most closely matches what it had in the county. Because the closest zoning district to Maricopa County's Rural 43 is the Suburban Ranch 43 district, this is what is being proposed here tonight. Again, it's a rural large lot zoning district. However, no development is planned to occur outside of the existing retention basin. So while we are providing zoning, this isn't like a traditional rezoning case where you expect a development application to follow. This is simply for meeting state statutory requirements. We did provide notice of hearing postcards in accordance with procedure with a 600-foot radius and HOAs within a 1-mile radius. The site was also posted with a sign by the city. As a result, and this has actually been updated since today, we received a total of 2 calls, just an inquiry, wanting to make sure what was going on the site, if any development would occur, and the individuals were informed that no development is planned. The city is simply bringing the site into conformance based on state statutory requirements. As a result, we have found that the property, as a result of its annexation into the city of Peoria, has state statute requires that the city provides the closest equivalent zoning district that is no more intense. The closest equivalent zoning district to the previous Maricopa County RU 43 is the city of Peoria's Suburban Ranch 43, SR 43 district. And as a result, we would recommend approval of case C16-0015 to the City Council, and I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay, is there any questions of the staff? Commissioner Bowling.
Mine's not necessarily directly about this because it came up in the next one too. there was something in here about a time frame. I'm trying to find it. From the time that the county or state says, yeah, you can have the land, you're supposed to, time period from which you're supposed to make this decision. And it appears that we've extended well beyond that. I'm curious, because both of these said the same thing, and we're both well beyond that time frame on both of them. One, obviously that's not a problem, I'm curious. But more so, are there a lot more of these sitting out there that we're backlogged on?
Commissioner Bolnick, in this case, the state does require that we begin the initial zoning process within 6 months after annexation. These cases have lingered a bit because there is no intended development to occur. It was not delaying any type of development, nor resulting any, essentially any hardship. As a city-owned property that is not changing, the delay would certainly be would not impact the way it would a private development. So, of course, in balancing our department's responsibilities, it would not take as high a precedent as some of those other matters.
Perfect answer. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions of staff from the commission? Okay, with that, I had to open a public hearing on this. Being that we are the applicant, I guess we're already here. Is there any, I don't have any speaker request forms on this. Is there anybody from the public here to speak on it? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. So nothing further from the commissioners for staff. Okay, please, we're going to look for a vote now on Z16-0015. Do I have a motion?
Chairman Hutchinson, I recommend approval of KZ16-0015 to City Council.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Nelson.
I'll second it.
And seconded by Commissioner Lewis. Would you please now vote? Okay, and that passes unanimously. The next agenda item is 6R Z16-0014, Church of Joy, initial zoning. The city initiated zoning request from a Glendale A1 and single-family R1-6 districts to the city of Peoria general agriculture and single-family residential R1 through 6 districts for approximately 2.1 acres following a recent annexation application on site. The property is located west of the southwest corner of New River and Rose Garden Lane and Ross Avenue alignments. Staff, could you please give your report?
Thank you, Chair Hutchinson, members of the Commission. The item Z16-0014 is also initial zoning, as noted. Very similar to our last case, this is a matter of fulfilling state statutory requirements for a property that was formerly known as the Church of Joy. Another city-initiated case, and to assure you, you should not be seeing any more of these in the near future. It's actually relatively rare that we would have city-owned property that's annexation or annexed and then goes through initial zoning. However, these are a few cleanups that we've been doing. As mentioned, the location of these properties, it's a little bit unusual in terms of how we would describe them. They're located adjacent to the New River itself in the waterway course or water course, approximately at the Ross Avenue and Rose Garden Lane alignments. These are two separate parcels that are independent and not physically adjacent to each other. Together, they total approximately 2.19, approximately 2.2 acres. And again, these are a request for initial zoning. The property to the north is currently zoned in the Glendale A1 zoning district, and the property to the south currently in the R16 Glendale zoning district. The proposal would be to provide the equivalent zoning within the city of general agricultural and R16 single-family residential. As noted, a bit unusual that these properties are actually within the New River Wash corridor and include the New River Trail as uses. The proposed uses would remain as is and remain in the wash, and in fact, a small portion of trail has actually been developed because of this annexation. For context, as you can see, there is considerable single-family residential development on both sides of the wash, particularly to the west within Peoria. We have several neighborhoods, including Fletcher Heights, as well as other residential communities. And to the across the full width of the wash to the east is the Aspera mixed-use development on the other side of the New River within the city of Glendale. That mixed-use development includes both residential components as well as commercial development. In terms of the general plan, because this is within the wash, the general plan designation is actually water. However, it is immediately adjacent to low-density residential, which would be typical for the single-family residential development that is there. The current zoning within this area, the residential PAD for Fletcher Heights, as well as agricultural property immediately within the wash. The Aspera property is a planned area development, or PAD, that includes the mix of commercial and residential uses. For background, this was, as mentioned, also part of an annexation. However, there were also parcels that were de-annexed. And this is part of an ongoing effort with the City of Glendale to clean up our mutual borders along the river. There right now is a bit of a zigzag, and it's very difficult for either city to provide services to properties on the other side of the wash from its main development. So this effort to clean up the border essentially removed parcels that the city was unable to develop or serve, and kind of creates a much more effective line of demarcation. The Board of Supervisors was involved in this effort because it did involve de-annexation from another municipality as opposed to going through the county. However, still, the state statute does require that rezoning to provide the initial zoning of the closest equivalent. As mentioned, the Peoria General Agricultural and Single-Family Residential R16 are those closest equivalents that are no more intense than the existing zoning within the city of Glendale. Although we are providing this rezoning, we do not expect any development to occur, so it will mark it on the map appropriately. We'll have a city designation, but we would not expect any changes or development. Noticing was provided in accordance with our requirements, to a 600-foot radius, as well as HOAs within 1 mile. The site was posted, and we did receive 2 calls of inquiry also, maybe from trail users or nearby property owners, and they were assured as well that no development is intended on this property. The key findings of our case are that the property was annexed in the city of Peoria's jurisdiction. As a result, the state statute required that we provided the closest equivalent zoning, and as a result, the closest equivalent zonings to the Glendale A1 and R16 districts have been provided. With that, we would recommend approval of case Z16-0014 to City Council. And I take any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions for staff? All right, seeing none, I will open the public hearing. And again, I do not have any speaker request forms, and there is nobody in the room to comment, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Any commissioners have any further questions of the staff? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to, or a motion on the agenda item.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lewis.
I'd like to make a motion that we send a recommendation of approval to the City Council on case Z16-0014.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Lewis. Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Okay, and seconded by Commissioner Patterson. Please vote. Okay, and it passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we are going to make a call to the public. Are there any comments from the public on non-agenda items? Okay, seeing none, reports from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Just a couple items tonight. First is our next meeting will be April 20th here in the same location at Council Chambers at 6:30. And then the second item is, as you know, we're in the process of updating our general plan. We're working now on the public outreach component. Some of our commissioners are on the general plan advisory committee. We met for the first time this week on Monday night, had a very productive meeting, I feel. And during that meeting, there was a presentation of the upcoming schedule for general plan outreach activities. If folks watching are interested, This is a pretty comprehensive list. There may be more items being added from time to time. Just please stay tuned to or please visit the planpeoriaaz.com website. These items will be updated regularly. For the month of March, we've got the Peoria Music Series. It's wrapping up at Camino al Lago Park on Sunday. That'll be from 5:30 to 7:30. We have a Bike to the Ballpark on the 31st. That will be at the Peoria Sports Complex. Randy, it's at 6 p.m. And then in April, we start off with Peoria Arts and Culture Festival. And then on the 14th, Peoria Pop-Up Dinner Party. Both of those items will be in the Old Town Peoria area. And then there will be a series of 3 community workshops. Those will be April 24th through the 26th in 3 different locations throughout the city. So we're going to try to go north, central, and south. Actually, in reverse order. South will be starting on the 24th from 6 to 8 at the Development Community Services building in the Point of View room. The 25th will be the Sunrise Mountain Library. And then April 26th will be Copper Hills Church in West Wing Community. Then 29th will be back to the Peoria Sports Complex for the Sweets, Confections, and Dessert Expo. Hopefully we'll meet some folks out there. And then again in May, we're looking at some meetings, some hearings, and some will be before the Planning and Zoning Commission for a project update. June, we will kick off our second community workshop series, which is yet to be determined. We're working on some of those details now. So just that's it on the general plan for tonight. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call, shoot us an email. But please check out the planpeoriaaz.com website. It is just getting started, but it's already got a lot of great content on there. Thank you.
Okay, great report. Is there any reports from the Planning and Zoning Commission? Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Chairman Hutchinson. Just a question and then a comment. I'm going to start with the question first. So, CDB, I assume we're an entitlement city, right, for CDBG funds. We receive those. I'm just curious, just a quick question, who does the prioritizing for that? Does the Economic Development Advisory Council do that? Does council, do city staff? I'm just curious how that works.
Commissioner Nelson, I'm actually not the expert on that. It is handled by our department, but not our division. So we have, if Chris Hawkins was here tonight, actually he'd probably be a great one to answer.
Put him on the spot at the next
Put him on the
meeting.
spot next time you see him, please do. But
Okay.
yes, we do have that program.
Okay, I was just curious about that process. Then my second one is I was remiss at the last meeting to send out a kudos to city staff, city clerk's office, and the city of Peoria for a wonderful boards and commission appreciation event. It's always a terrific event. Always look forward to it every year, never miss it. How you manage to beat yourself every year and come up with an even better act and a better performer. They're all excellent, but was really enjoyed it. So again, just a thank you from the bottom of my heart to the city for doing that. Certainly, it's not an expectation of anybody on this commission that the city does that, but we do appreciate the gesture and always enjoy that event, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners like to make a report? I must say I was I had to miss this year's event, and I did enjoy it. I think last year was the Eagles. That was a really good time as well. And I'm a big fan of Billy Joel, so I'm really kind of missing that. I will say I went to the general plan outreach meeting on Monday with a couple of fellow commissioners, and it was really, really informative. And the feedback that was sought from the participants was really, really appreciated and really spawned a lot of discussion. I know the meeting was supposed to end at 8 o'clock, and I think we got out of there like almost 8:30 by the time everyone dissipated. So it was a lot of participation, a lot of good input, and a lot of good participation from the citizens that are participating. So I look forward to future meetings and look forward to a good general plan coming out of this effort. So thank you again for your guys' effort on that behalf. With that, seeing no other activity, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned.